phone with us now is Newt Gingrich, the last Republican winner of the South Carolina primary. And I believe, if memory serves me right, Speaker, it was when you were on the phone with us. So that was then, this is now. How significant is this victory for Mr. Trump?
Well, I think it's tremendously significant. Trump once again, has done it his own way. I mean, some of the things he did I thought made no sense at all, and I'm astonished that he somehow puts it together, and his supporters just keep sticking with him. And you know, he took on George W. Bush in a state where George W. Bush was at 84%, and people who really liked George W. but nonetheless thought, you know, Trump was raising some good points, just gave him a pass and kept sticking with him. He had the very, very popular governor, Nikki Haley, who's also in the 80% range in approval, endorsed Rubio. He had the very popular U.S. Senator Tim Scott endorsed Rubio, and Trey Gowdy, who has been chairing the Benghazi Committee. And you couldn't have a more perfect contest between the true outsider and the true establishment team. And you saw that as the last couple of days, Marco went around the state with these guys all with him on stage, and you saw the result. I mean, there's a very close race between Cruz and Rubio, but it is not a very close race with Donald Trump. He has won a decisive victory in a state which is very evangelical, where I think Ted Cruz legitimately thought he could potentially be dominant. And the fact is that Trump is proving to be a very formidable force.
But, you know, you mentioned something very interesting about Nikki Haley, very popular governor in the state. She said of all the candidates, the one she just had serious reservations about was Donald Trump. I mean, she all but said he'd be a threat, he'd be bad.
Right.
And yet she remains popular. Donald Trump goes on to win. It's weird.
Well, you know, I do 2 free newsletters a week at GingrichProductions.com. And earlier this week, I wrote one on 3 parallel universes. And I said, Bernie Sanders lives in a universe with his supporters. Trump lives in a universe with his supporters. And all the traditional politicians are in this 3rd universe where you and I have resided most of our career. And we can't understand it because it's like science fiction. These are alternative universes.
But part of that, I mean, you know, we touched on this number that so far, maybe just to the math and the number of candidates in, you know, Donald Trump gets about 1/3 of the vote thus far. If you look at all the vote apportioned, right, he's standing at about 1/3 of it, 31% of the votes thus far. And if you include the Iowa caucuses, New Hampshire primary, and of course South Carolina, how does he get beyond that threshold? The others get out.
Well, let me ask a question. I don't know because I've not seen the numbers, Neil, and you have. The way South Carolina gives out delegates, I think you get 26 for carrying the state, and then 23 are divided up
29.
among
You get 29.
Okay, 29.
Right.
29, and the rest are divided up among the congressional districts. Right. And I'd be curious whether he's actually carrying all the congressional districts.
That I don't know. That's a very good. I wish you hadn't asked me that because I don't know.
No, and we may not have enough numbers to know yet. But if it does come in that way, then it's 50-0.
That's right.
And people need to understand that. And this is why, frankly, the donor class, I think, is going to put enormous pressure on Jeb Bush to end his campaign, because they are desperate to get it down to Rubio, Cruz, and Trump. I mean, the only other guy who has a realistic reason for hanging out is Kasich, because if he can survive long enough to get to the Midwest, Ohio's a winner-take-all state. He'll do some, you know, he'll be good in other places.
Well, why would Marco Rubio and Jeb Bush would be fighting over Florida, right? You think it?
Well, no, I think as of today,
you don't think Jeb Bush would wait for Florida?
No, they're both going to lose Florida to Trump.
That's polling the case. But you think Jeb Bush waits to see how he does in Florida if he could best Rubio?
I think if Bush comes, look, I love Jeb. Right. He's a great person. He was a wonderful governor, but he's also a smart guy. If he comes in as bad as the current reports indicate, just common sense is going to say to him, this is a game. This is not his year, and it's not a game he's going to win. And he's not the kind of guy
out John Kasich right now and Ben Carson, but that's not good enough. That's what you're saying.
Yeah,
fourth is not going to do it.
Well, because it's a distant fourth.
Yeah.
It's like there are 2 leagues here. There's a major league and a minor league. He has spent more money than any other candidate. Proof, by the way, that money's not the key to politics, despite Bernie Sanders' speeches. I think in Iowa he spent $2,600 per vote. Well, at some point, as a practical guy who's got a lot of pride, he's going to say to himself, I'm not going to spend a couple more months doing this because it's not going to work.
Who does the establishment? I know it's a risky word, Newt, so I apologize. But I got a feeling talking to the likes of Bob Dole and some of these others, that they don't flip over over Donald Trump, but they really don't like Ted Cruz. So if they had their druthers,
they have a problem.
Right, but they would, if they had their druthers, they would prefer Trump to Cruz.
Well,
right?
yeah, but the next stage of the establishment will be for Marco. And you'll see a lot of endorsements for Marco in the near future.
Okay.
He has bounced back from that really disastrous debate that he had in New Hampshire. And he's a very attractive guy.
Yeah.
And my guess is that you will see the traditional money now flow into Marco, and he'll be able to sustain a campaign. And then it's going to be a slugging match for a month or two, and we'll see. I mean,
those three guys.
You put your finger on it exactly right, Neil. The question for Trump is, he's now proven he can have a solid base. Can he grow that to 40 or 45%? Because 31% won't win the nomination in the end.
Good.
Speaker Lou Dobbs, it seems to me that the question will be for Trump, if indeed this is winnowed to the first tier, whether he can do as he suggested, adapt to a new role, a new position, and a new tone and demeanor that continues his combativeness, his straight talk, but also brings a capacity to aggregate support. Do you think he has that capacity?
Well, I think we're going to find out. I've read both The Art of the Deal, and now I'm just finishing The Art of the Comeback. He is a much more impressive person than the news media gives him credit for. He has proven a great ability to master a business he only entered 7 months ago. I mean, nobody since Eisenhower has entered this business at the very top, and Eisenhower had been commander of the Allied forces in Europe. Right. And so Trump is doing something we've never seen done before in our lifetime. Now, can he continue to evolve? You know, when he says, I'm not going to use profanity anymore, if he sticks to that, that is a real, but that's an example. I mean, how much this stuff is real, how much this stuff is baloney.
Speaker Gingrich,
we'll see.
It's Charlie Gasparino. How do you? I mean, you made the point that I made before. He has to grow beyond the 35%. How do you do that without spending any money? I mean, I know we exaggerate the money in politics, but I mean, he has spent no money. He has lent his campaign $12 million. Lent his campaign.
Right.
Now, I know it's working, but at some point to grow that, you know, don't you have to spend money at some point?
Well, you might. I mean, particularly when you get to places like Super Tuesday where you're so many different states. On the other hand, remember, when he tweets in the entire country. When he is on Fox and Friends by phone in the morning, you know, he's on Fox and Friends in the whole country. This guy is a cross between P.T. Barnum and the Kardashians, and I have never seen anybody with his capacity for using earned media, you know, 24 hours a day. He just had a thing out tonight about, you know, Obama probably would have gone to the funeral for the justice if only it had been in a mosque.
Yeah,
I mean,
I heard that.
This guy just drifts along thinking up stuff on a regular. That ain't staff driven. That's Trump driven.
But it's
we'll see.